Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the ordinary meeting of Council, 29th of October 2025. This meeting is being held on the traditional lands of the Wadawurrung people. We wish to acknowledge them as the traditional custodians and pay our respects to their elders past and present. We extend that respect to all members of our community. We have no apologies this evening. Do any councillors have a conflict of interest that they wish to disclose? No. Officers? No. There is no leave of absence for a councillor. The public questions status update is that there are no public questions outstanding. This evening we have, not numbered. Thank you. We have 10 public questions. Our first question is from Rowan Martin. Is Rowan present this evening? That being the case, I'll read his question, and his question is, when will the community batteries be operational, and where will the community batteries be located? I ask for a response from the Manager for Infrastructure and Environment, please.
Good evening, Mayor and Councillors. Thanks for the question, Rowan. Mondo, a subsidiary of AusNet, have been funded by the state government to deliver 4 neighbourhood batteries to benefit the Queenscliff Point Lonsdale electrical network. This type of battery is commonly referred to as front-of-meter, as it interacts with the network rather than a single building or facility. Council officers have maintained communication with Mondo throughout their process of identifying suitable sites, and Council's aware that 2 sites within the borough of Queenscliff remain under active consideration. Only one of these sites being actively considered is on land managed by Council, and that's the Queenscliff Recreation Reserve. Following engagement with the Recreation Reserve stakeholders, Council has confirmed that Council is supportive of this location, and Mondo will progress design detail of a battery at this location, including an application to Powercor for network connection. Council officers do not have insight to Mondo's timeline to progress the design, connection, approval process and installation. Council has also sourced state government grant funding independently of the Mondo project to install their batteries, to install a behind-the-meter battery to connect to council facilities within the Recreation Reserve. This project will commence shortly with a meeting of Recreational Reserve stakeholders, and the installation of Council's behind-the-meter battery is scheduled to commence in April 2026.
Thank you very much. Public question number 2 is from Gail McNulty. Is Gail here this evening? That being the case, I'll read her question. She says, re the Council Dog Park survey, please confirm that the comments provided by respondents will be made available when the result is published. Thank you. I call on the Manager for Community and Regulatory Services. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for your question, Gail. Officers will brief councillors on the dog off-leash survey results on 12 November 2025 and will take direction on next steps. Following this, we intended to publish the results that will include key themes and comments from respondents.
Thank you very much. Public question number 3 is from Mary Lou Gilbert. Limited hours for adults. I think she's saying, could we limit hours for adults to ride bikes on Point Lonsdale Esplanade from September the 1st to May the 1st? The hours available, possibly 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. It's far too dangerous for big boys on bikes with elderly, young children, strollers and small bikes. Could I ask the Manager of Infrastructure and Environment to please respond to that question?
Thank you, Mayor Rule, and thank you, Mary Lou. Councils have raised this issue for officers to investigate, I'll reach out to you to discuss the safety concerns to inform a review of the practice. In addition, officers are communicating with the Department of Transport regarding clearance of vegetation from the edge of Point Lonsdale Road to improve the safety of that cycle route also.
Thank you very much, Stuart. Public question number 4 is from Margaret Hunter. Margaret, would you like to read? All right, thank you. The background is the Council has listed as a value in the new Council vision sustainability. We place climate change risks at the core of our decision making and take extensive action to protect our natural environment. The question, as the clear and irrefutable evidence mounts for Australian communities, our Council plans seem inadequate, especially in light of Australia's National Climate Risk Assessment 2025. How does Council plan to take genuine short-term action that will address the risks posed by our already changing coastal climate? Thank you, Stuart Hanson.
Thank you for your question, Margaret. By way of clarification, the draft Council plan under consideration tonight includes sustainability as a guiding principle and states that sustainability is promoting practices that protect and enhance the natural environment. The value you refer to in your question was in the 2021 to 2025 Council plan. However, with respect to your question, the response to climate risk is a necessary function of all levels of government globally. The Borough incorporates the consideration of climate risk in both short-term and long-term decisions, and consideration of climate risk is increasingly being embedded in systems and processes at all levels of Council's operations. This includes within our asset management and maintenance processes, our project management processes, strategic planning processes and coastal resource management activities, to name a few. In addition, numerous Council-led initiatives from within the Climate Emergency Response Plan are being actioned alongside other initiatives being led in the community by others.
Thank you, Stuart. Public question 5 is from Jenny Brown. Is Jenny here this evening? Would you like to read your question, Jenny?
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you. The background is I note in the latest draft of the Borough of Queenscliff plan that 2 climate emergency response plan actions have now been included as objectives: maximising opportunities to generate energy on council assets where viable, and continue to advocate for coastal erosion mapping across the borough. The Plan 11.1 also says our decisions and our work is informed by strategic documents adopted by Council. The explanation given here is that this recognises the role of the SERP and other key strategic plans without needing to mention them by name. This seems incongruent with the Council listed value of sustainability. We place climate change risks at the core of our decision making and take extensive action to protect our natural environment. Not mentioning a key Council document that provides a plan for reducing emissions and strives to protect our community and environment seems to indicate that the SERP is expendable. My question is, why is Council adverse to naming the Climate Emergency Response Plan and defining genuine climate action as per the sustainability value in its key foundational and planning documents?
Thank you, Jenny. Jenny, I'd just like to say that Council doesn't consider the naming of a document critical to genuine climate action. Through the Council plan, Council communicates the commitment to the guiding principles of sustainability, and Council's decisions will be guided by numerous adopted documents. Maintaining a high-level approach within the Council plan effectively incorporates reference to and equal consideration of all current and future adopted documents. So the 11.1 that you referred to is explicitly there to say that, of course, we are incorporating all existing strategic documents.
seems a little unusual for plans not to reference.
Well, if you
key
look at the other
documents.
78 plans in the state, you'll find that there are many that don't. Thank you, Jenny. Public question number 6 is from Michelle and David Jepson. Are either of them here this evening? That being the case, I'll read the question. I refer to the open space of filled wetland west of the New Cove development, which is now being referred to as the Haven. The area served as a builder's dump in the 1970s, with heaps of building rubble from demolitions left scattered and allowed to grow over. There is a high likelihood of the area being contaminated with asbestos and paint chemicals to a greater extent than that which was found on the adjoining site. The potential with projected sea level rise and/or the ability for contamination to flow through groundwater into Swan Bay and fish food sources is obvious. Why is Council not referring this area to the Environment Protection Authority and the Asbestos Eradication Authority in the first instance? I'd like to call on the Manager for Infrastructure and Environment. Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you again, Mayor Rule, and thank you for the question to the Jepsons. All the areas where fill had been deposited on the site have been subject to numerous assessments, analysis and other due diligence processes to assess potential contaminants. This involved test augers across the filled areas on multiple occasions across a number of years. Most recently, Council has undertaken test augers adjacent to the new Wardle Court development along the edge of the Saltmarsh area. The results of these, results have been shared with the EPA, and the area has been deemed low risk. Understanding that there is no significant development planned for this area, the evidence from the investigations undertaken indicates there is no risk to health or surrounding environment.
Thank you, Stuart. Public question number 7 is from Carmen Bell. Carmen, would you? Thank you. Carmen writes, I sent a letter to Council on the 7th of October 2025 requesting an urgent planning scheme amendment to deal with wording in the borough's design and development overlays, known as DDOs. I've yet to receive an answer from the Planning Department. There are 6 design and development overlays in the Queenscliff planning scheme. It's become apparent that the wording inadequately describes the intent of the overlays as it allows additions to non-compliant buildings to be made at the non-compliant existing height. Could you please provide an answer at tonight's council meeting? Call on the Manager for Community and Regulatory Services.
Thank you for your question, Carmen. It's a bit of a long response, so bear with me. The wording of the existing height controls and the design and development overlays, DDO, does not represent a right to develop, but is an upper limit that may be achieved if all the objectives and requirements of the controls can be met, including that the design reflects a ground-up exercise rather than a top-down approach. The maximum height and number of stories cannot be varied with a permit except where alterations and additions are sought to existing buildings which presently exceed the number of stories or specified height. This element of control has existed since DDOs were developed in the year 2000 and provides an opportunity for merit assessment of changes to buildings developed prior to the current DDOs against the design objectives of DDOs. Any amendment to the height controls in the DDO would need to be undertaken as a fully exhibited amendment to the planning scheme, requiring public consultation and exhibition, and as a major piece of strategic work requiring allocation of budget and resources. The height controls are one of several controls in the DDO not to be looked at in isolation and would need to form part of a complete review to ensure that the controls are relevant in protecting neighbourhood character in the borough. Council is currently in a process of reviewing the Queenscliff planning scheme as required under the Planning and Environment Act The work undertaken to date has shown that some of the wording of the design and development overlays requires updating to meet current practices, given the control has been in operation for approximately 20 years.
Are you familiar with 18 the Esplanade?
Yes, I am, Carmen.
My follow-up question is, are you familiar with 18 the Esplanade application?
I said I'm aware of that planning application, Carmen. That was my response.
Thank you, Tim. Public question number 8 is from David Kenwood. David, would you... Thank you. Great result once again for Santa Casa Beach being named the cleanest beach in Port Phillip. However, the results are not so good for the large pond at Gaines Reserve, which initial water quality readings show high levels of pollutants. Can the borough verify if this is the case, and if so, consider how best to improve the water quality in the pond? CEO, could I ask you to respond, please?
Thank you, Mayor, and through you, and thank you, David, for your question. Unfortunately, before I do go to your question, there is, just for everyone's information, EPA's put up an advisory note at the access to Santa Casa just this week, following the storms over the weekend. It's now... so hopefully we don't get an inundation on the weekend when people come to swim. However, with respect to your question, I've been in discussions with Dr. Lee Ackland, who is a emeritus professor in the Faculty of Science and Technology at Deakin University. She's a microbiologist who specialises in bacteria. Dr. Ackland has been undertaking water testing for a few years across a range of sites around Point Lonsdale, including Lake Victoria and Lakers Cutting. This year, Dr. Ackland added Gaines Reserve into her routine testing regime. The Gaines Reserve results for July and August 2025 showed elevated levels of enterococci and the presence of E. coli. Dr. Ackland has advised me that she will take further testing for bacterial counts to consolidate the earlier data and establish how the counts may vary over time and the seasons. If a problem remains following those additional tests, the next step will be to determine the origin of the pollutant or the bacteria. And as an interim measure, Dr. Ackland has recommended that people do not let their dogs swim in Gaines Reserve. And we're pretty confident if people keep their dogs on leashes that can be avoided and the risk could be mitigated. Thank you for raising it though, David.
Thank you. Public question 9 is from the QCA. Okay. At the ordinary meeting of Council on the 17th of September 2020, Council adopted the Lovell Chan 2020 Heritage Review and instructed officers to prepare a work plan for implementing Stage 2 and to finalise assessments for the 153 additional places identified in the review. This included local heritage recognition for the Avenue of Honour. The CEO was instructed to report back with a recommendations paper by September 2021. Can Council provide an update on further progress to implement the entire heritage review as part of a planning scheme amendment, and that the work plan and recommendations paper be made available for the community? I ask the CEO to respond, please.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you, and thank you, David, for your question. Excuse me. At the ordinary meeting of Council held on October 2021, Council considered a Heritage Review implementation report, which included recommendations that the implementation of the Lovell Chan Heritage Review be undertaken in stages. Many of you will be familiar with Stage 2A, which is the most recent step of that implementation process and involved an update to the heritage controls in the Queenscliff planning scheme that applied to Fisherman's Flat. Stage 2B will be a review of the Hesse Street precinct using the same methodology used for the review of Fisherman's Flat Heritage Precinct, and this is due to commence in the coming months, having Council's now appointed a consultant to that project. To see all the recommendations made to Council in 2021, it's worth reading the Council report and a copy of the minutes for the October 2021 ordinary meeting of Council, and they're available on the Council website.
Thank you. A follow-up question?
Yeah, thank you, councillors and Mayor and CEO, for that report. I'm just wondering, can we see the papers that were delivered, and also in terms of the slowness of implementing the amendments one by one, whether a block amendment process could be contemplated? And further, just in light of page 19, that the two dwelling developments and the news today of neighbourhoods or neighbours not being given access or given advice about planning developments next door, and given our strong heritage protections, whether we as a council are bound by non-notification processes, and given what's stated on page 19, read two-storey developments which appear quite limited, that heritage overlays, environmental overlays, inundation overlays, etc., will become basically the planning function of council rather than state government. Thank you.
I can't answer all the questions at this point, David, but certainly your question around whether we'll be bound by the legislation and the changes to the Planning and Environment Act, we will be bound by that. That it is legislation and law, and we will need to, and I think there's going to be a question later, but Tim has certainly indicated to the councillors that we'll give them a briefing on what we see in the bill at the moment, and how that might impact both our resources, but also some of those concerns that have been raised previously in our community about how we continue to respect the character and the heritage characteristics of the borough. So we'll work through those.
Thank you, CEO. Public question number 10 is from David Connolly. In September 2021, on the issue of 13225, the CEO report in the council minutes informed the community that the CEO of Geelong did not support a boundary review, and there was not sufficient support to constitute a panel under Section 239 of the Local Government Act 2020 for that purpose. Council then wrote to the Minister for Local Government to that effect. Does that remain the case, and 13225 has little support from the City of Greater Geelong? I ask the CEO to respond, please.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you, and thank you, David. Look, at present, I'm sorry to say we don't have any updated information regarding the current position of the City of Greater Geelong on this matter. Any change in their position has not been formally communicated to Council. However, should further information become available, we'll obviously bring it to Council, and Council will probably consider it in the context of our ongoing engagement with the community and the relevant stakeholders. At this stage, I don't think there's an appetite. Certainly, yep.
Thank you. And that's the last of the public questions. Item 6 calls for the confirmation of minutes of the previous meeting. 6.1 refers to the ordinary council meeting on the 24th of September. The recommendation that I move is that the minutes of the ordinary council meeting on the 24th of September 2025 as distributed be confirmed as an accurate record. Do I have a seconder for that motion?
Can I make an adjustment to that? Because during that meeting, during the public question time, that Carmen Bell actually raised a question regarding planning, and due to the length of it, we reduced the reading out of the question on agreements that would actually publish her full question and the details. Could we have that her full question fully noted in our minutes, please?
Jenny, are you comfortable with that?
No, we stopped it. It was
Yeah, so the preamble was too long. It didn't meet the word count, so...
I didn't include it in the public question, so the member may not have seen it.
Yeah.
And I'm not aware of that being discussed at the meeting.
No, I remember because it was...
That's what we were going to do.
Yeah. We'll certainly take it offline, and if the councillor's supportive of amending the minutes to include the full question...
All right.
Well, it's part of this motion, yeah.
Well, we don't necessarily need a motion if we just are separately publishing it as not part of the minutes, because it's not part of the minutes, it wasn't part of the meeting. But it could still be published.
Oh, yeah, I see what you mean.
Are you happy with that, Councillor Grigger?
Yep, thank you.
All right. That being the case, do I have a seconder for the recommendation motion?
Yep.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Yes.
Unanimous. Thank you. The Audit and Risk Committee meeting on the 8th of September. There's a recommendation. Does somebody want to move that? Thank you. Councillor Tolhurst. Do you want me to read it for your voice, or...? No, you do it.
I think just as presented that the minutes are deemed an accurate record. And sorry to the gallery, you're going to have to endure this for a little bit longer.
All right, so the motion is that the agenda and unconfirmed minutes of the Audit and Risk Committee as distributed be noted. Seconder, thank you. Councillor Cameron, all those in favour? Unanimous, thank you. Item 7 is the record of informal meetings of councillors as listed. Do I have a mover for the motion and as the recommendation that the record of informal meetings of councillors as presented in adjunct to item 7 be noted? Moved Councillor Cameron, seconded Councillor Grigger. All those in favour? Thank you, unanimous. Item 8 is notices of motion. The notice of motion status update is that there are no notices of motion outstanding. There have been no notices of motion received. Item 9 refers to petitions and joint letters, and there have been no petitions or joint letters received. Item 10 is functions attended, and I'd like to move that the functions attended report be received with the following additions. On the 17th of the 9th, I attended tourism team, which is part of the Greater Geelong Bellarine, or Tourism Greater Geelong Bellarine, and that was at the Royal Hotel. On the 3rd of October, I attended the Queenscliff Fire Brigade Awards Night at Lonsdale Links. And on the 4th of October, I attended the Queenscliff Maritime Museum fundraising dinner, which was extremely well attended at 360. Did anybody else have any additions they wanted to include? Councillor Cameron.
Yes, if I can just please note that on the 18th of October, due to home commitments, I was unable to attend the St George's Flower Show, which is very disappointing. But
thank you, Councillor Cameron. So with those addition and that one exclusion, do I have a seconder for the motion? Thank you, Councillor Monaghan. Are there all those in favour? Passed unanimously. Thank you. Item 11 is the Chief Executive Officer's report. We'll take it as read. Are there any questions regarding that report from any councillors? That being the case, I'd like to move that Council receives the Chief Executive Officer report for October 2025, 2, approves the draft mayoral correspondence to Senator the Honourable Murray Watts, Federal Minister for Environment and Water, supporting the nomination to include Lakers Cutting in the Bellarine Peninsula Ramsar site boundary. And 3, receives the updated Climate Emergency Response Plan review. Do I have a seconder for that motion?
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Griggar. Sorry, it's really hard for me on the right. I'd like to speak to the motion. So I'd just like to extend my congratulations to the STOP group for all the work that they're doing to try and prevent the potential Coles development. We were all very happy that the state government has recommended to the federal government the inclusion of the Bellarine Peninsula Ramsar site, which, as we know, includes Lakers Cutting, and all that that means for the protection of this precious environmental site. Hence, the Council's letter to the Federal Minister for Environment, Murray Watt, supporting the state government recommendation. This, of course, widens the opportunity for everybody to make the case about this potential development, to include the federal member for Corangamite, Libby Coker, in all correspondence, and to also include in all correspondence Minister Watt, the Environment Minister, as well as I think is already being done to our local member for Bellarine, Alison Marchin, and to the Minister for Development, for Planning, Sonia Kilkenny. I also note the improved version of the SERP review, which will be considered, and we will include in that consideration measurable environmental outcomes and their financial cost as we examine those. So, Councillor Griggar, did you wish to speak?
No, thank you.
Anybody against the motion? Councillor Tolhurst.
Thank you, Mayor. I also commend the letter to Minister Murray Watt, and do believe actually another letter should go out to Murray Watt, acknowledging that it's likely that development on the site, on a now recommended Ramsar site, would trigger an EPBC Act assessment. However, in speaking against the motion, I'm speaking against the process of having the revised SERP report tabled tonight. I don't think there's anything wrong with seeking clarification or more information on any report presented to Council, but I do wish these questions had been asked of the report and officers in the meeting itself when it was presented to the public, and the public too could have been privy to that discussion and narrative where there were concerns. Overall, the report is still a really positive news story for the SERP's value to Council. A total expenditure of $628,000 thereabouts still represents only 1% of Council's expenditure, with $511,000 coming back in the form of grants and another $2.8 million committed. The $400,000 committed for the behind-the-meter battery, only $40,000 has been received, with the remaining $360,000 more than likely to be included by June 30 next year. This project will provide a refuge of last resort with serious credentials, along with significant reduction in future council power bills. There are electricity cost savings for Council noted in the report to the tune of $33,000. That's historically reviewing them, but that is likely to be ongoing without any further expenditure. And while the volunteer hours of QCAN and other community members have not been included, this has been significant, and I again acknowledge their work in helping deliver a plan which, if consultants were used, would have been significantly higher. So I also reiterate the final line that this report will supersede the prior version and be used in the 5-year review that is to occur later this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tolhurst. Councillor Griggar, do you wish to take up or does anybody want to speak for the motion?
No, I'll leave this for our proper discussion regarding the 5-year review, because I think there were questions by councillors that actually needed to be answered, but we actually wanted to take it offline, so there was not any embarrassment to certain people. So I think we should move to the 5-year report. Thank you.
All right, thank you. That being the case, all those in favour of the motion? Against?
I'm for the motion.
All right, I think you spoke against it. All right. Thank you. Unanimous. Item 12, Heritage Planning and Infrastructure. I move that the planning permit activity report be received. Is there a seconder for that motion? Thank you, Councillor Tolhurst. Does anybody wish to speak? Councillor Tolhurst.
Just to thank officers for the inclusion of some more information about VC 288, a Victorian planning provision change, and note to the public that this is an ongoing inclusion, that those Victorian planning provision changes or amendments will contain more details so it's understood what their implications are.
Thank you, Councillor Tolhurst. All those in favour of the motion? Passed unanimously. Thank you. Item 12.2, the Point Lonsdale Lighthouse Reserve Project update. I would like to move that Council notes the Point Lonsdale Lighthouse Reserve Project update for October 2025. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Thank you, Councillor Cameron. I'd just like to say a few words regarding the project in support of the motion. We do need to consider, as is outlined in the report, the development of a high-level master plan. There has been one previously, and we do need to consider producing such a thing again in the future in order to be able to hand this area back to DECA. The maintenance and of the property will be beyond the Borough of Queenscliff. I hope that we can commence this work in the new year. It is disappointing, as many have said, that this project has been so drawn out and that it has been so costly. And I know that, as is referred to in this report, there is some annoyance about the exploration of including a viewing platform on top of the defence emplacement. But the precinct has the potential to become a major tourist attraction, as was outlined at the PCG meeting on the 13th of October by the DECA representative. So I think it's, all in all, better to get it right rather than have to go back later and try and do something retrospectively. And meanwhile, I look forward to the replacement of the toilets. Does anybody else wish to speak to the motion? Against? That being the case, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Passed unanimously. Thank you. Move now to item 13, Governance and Finance, the annual report. There is a recommendation. Would you like to move that as a motion, or?
I'd like to move the motion, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Griggar.
One notes that the 25 submissions were received and considered for the council plan of 2025 to 2029. Yes. Annual report, yes. Oh, sorry, annual report, sorry, so submissions. No, sorry. Oh, oops. Oh, sorry, whoops, sorry.
Have you got it?
Yeah, actually, I've got the revised one, sorry. Yeah, notes that. Oh, that's what you sent me.
I think if you just start with it too, you're probably okay.
No, this is what the review. Can we just take a minute and take a.
All right, we'll just take a break for a moment. It should be in the
No, it's okay.
emails from
Yes.
You got it?
That's what I got. Yeah.
Oh.
start with notes at 25 cents. That is still the council plan.
That's all right.
Thank you, Councillor Griggar.
I say, yes, this update version that adopts the annual plan as presented, subject to the following changes. At text on page 74. Yes, annual report. That's as presented, subject to the following changes. The text on page 74 is under infrastructure and development contributions is updated to reflect the differences between the type of financial contributions. And two, any changes suggested by Vargo, and we've just got a couple more, sorry, is that on pages 23 and 24, the committee and reference groups for all councillors on the CEO remuneration, Employment and Remuneration Committee, it's missing. So for Councillor Cameron and Councillor Tolhurst need to be added in on those pages.
Right. Thank you, Councillor Griggar. Do I have a seconder for the motion? Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Does anybody wish to speak?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Griggar.
I support the recommendation of the annual report. It's a reflection of the work undertaken by officers and staff for the year that's highlighting sort of the management, community engagement and transparent reporting. However, I wish to note there are a few minor errors that should be corrected before the final publication. These include inconsistencies in staffs, reserve balances, and a few council portfolios that we've corrected in our motion. So, and also there's something on page 19 of Moona Woodlands. It just needs missing an A. While these issues don't affect the financial integrity of the document, they are important for accuracy and professionalism. With these corrections noted, I am pleased to support the adoption of the annual report.
Thank you, Councillor Griggar. Does anybody else wish to speak? That being the case, I put the motion. All those in favour? Passed unanimously. Thank you. Item 13.2 is the proposed advisory financial committee, and I would like to move that Council resolves to form an advisory financial committee, that Council approves the terms of reference for the Finance Committee as proposed in the Council report, but with a couple of amendments. One amendment is on page 37 under selection criteria, and I would ask that to read selection criteria of independent members. And then I would like it to say that applicants should have qualifications as a chartered accountant or a certified practicing accountant. The next three dot points are as read. Under the heading chairperson, the role of chairperson shall be undertaken by an independent member. And under term, in referring to the length of term for this committee, the role will be for the remaining term of that council. So the completion of the sentence is the committee will be appointed by council within the first 6 months of a new council term following a review of the committee's purpose and role for the remaining term of that council. And item 3 requests officers to undertake an expression of interest process to appoint the independent members of the Finance Committee. Do I have a seconder for the motion? Thank you, Councillor Tolhurst. Does anybody wish to speak?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Against?
No, for. No, I didn't. You said you wanted to.
Yeah, all right. Well, what would you like to say? Anything?
Well, I'd like to support the establishment of this Finance Committee and the adoption of the terms of reference subject to the key amendments included in this recommendation that you read out. The purpose of this committee is to strengthen the Council's oversight in our long-term financial sustainability. It provides an additional layer of independent advice to Council on matters such as our financial planning, annual budgets, investigative strategies, areas that are essential to maintaining confidence in our financial governance. The inclusion of independent members appointed through an open expression of interest process will bring a valuable expertise and objectivity to the table. The appointment of an independent chair will also strengthen transparency and reinforce the independence of the committee advice to Council. These refinements ensure that the committee's role complements rather than duplicates the work of the Audit and Risk Committee, while providing a forward-looking lens on financial strategy and performance. For these reasons, I'm pleased to support the recommendation and commend it to Council.
Thank you, Councillor Gregar. All those in favour? Passed unanimously. Thank you. Item 13.3, the Council Plan 2025-2029. Do I have a motion for this? The recommendation is that Council notes that 25 submissions were received and considered for the Council Plan 2025 to 2029, notes Council's responses provided for all community submissions received, and adopts the Council Plan 2025-2029 as presented. Do I have a mover for the motion? Thank you, Councillor Gregar. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Monaghan. Councillor Gregar, do you wish to speak?
Yes, thank you. I'd like to speak to this in support of the adopting of the Council Plan of 2025 to 29. This plan represents a significant piece of strategic work that set out our direction for the next 5 years. Aligning closely with our aspirations for our community vision, it provides a clear framework for decision making, resource allocation and accountability, all essential in ensuring that Council remains focused on delivering the priorities that matter most to our residents. Importantly, this plan has been shaped through community consultation. Council received 19 formal submissions from individuals, community groups and local organisations. Each submission has carefully been reviewed, and where appropriate amendments were made to strengthen the plan. Community feedback resulted in notable improvements, including stronger actions on climate resilience and environmental management, clearer commitments to heritage protection and tourism, and the inclusion of measurable targets such as a 30% tree canopy goal. This process demonstrates that Council has listened, reflected and responded to the views of our community. While not every suggestion could be adopted, the final plan now better balances environmental, heritage and financial priorities, ensuring the borough remains sustainable, livable and true to its character. I would like to thank all the community members who took the time to provide feedback, and to acknowledge the Council officers for their work in reviewing the submissions and preparing a comprehensive document. The Council Plan of 2025 and 2029 is both aspirational and practical, and it positions the borough well to continue delivering high service levels, value for our ratepayers, strong local leadership and good governance. For this reason, I'll be voting in favour of adopting the plan to be confident to be able to be delivered.
Thank you, Councillor Griggar. I've forgotten who seconded it. No. All right. In that case, is there anybody against the motion? Councillor Tolhurst.
Thank you, Mayor. I also want to thank everyone who made a submission. It does take time to review documents, so no matter the feedback, the process is better for public participation. With that said, I speak against certain elements of the plan and of the version presented tonight. For me, the community feedback has not been meaningfully considered and incorporated, or the opportunity for balance has failed to be achieved. The consultation summary details key themes that emerged from the 25 submissions, but the reality is 64% called for strong reference to environmental stewardship, coastal protection and land management, and 40% wanted the SERP specifically referenced. The version does not mention the SERP, although it has actions from it, which I commend, but it provides only one specific document that supports climate work, and that's the Coastal Marine Management Plan, which has not been adopted yet. I think strong strategic direction on big issues like climate change can sit comfortably alongside Council's most practical and local work and initiatives, but I can't feel that the balance is quite there yet. I think that as a result, the plan lacks a bit of ambition, which is what many asked for, and often rests on dividing lines between state, federal and local government, which negate the reality that Council does have a responsibility for things like climate change, coastal assets and reconciliation. It selectively referenced Council's existing policies, strategies and committees, and in the absence of specific policies being named, there's a vague message about decisions and work is informed by strategic documents adopted by Council. But I don't think it should be assumed that Council's policy suite is known to the community, and even where it is, naming those documents in the plan points to work that will be done, how it will be done, and how we will achieve our goals. It provides action and accountability and is a good use of resources already expended in creating those documents. And finally, for me, the Council's community engagement policy hasn't been fully realised in developing this plan. Despite the policy suggesting Council can and should undertake these processes, there were no demographic checks, no capacity to identify and reach out to underrepresented groups. And one significant consequence of this is that the voices and perspectives of young people are largely absent from the plan. This is a major project, but consultation did not commence early in the project's life cycle, even though we have always known the statutory deadline for this work. I don't believe that true representative participation can be achieved with 25 submissions. And by way of comparison, in 2021, the Council plan had 264 individual responses. With those reservations stated, I thank officers, I thank my colleagues. There has been a lot of work done in a short amount of time, and I am supportive of many parts of the plan. A playground strategy, commitments to 30% canopy coverage, more community forums, preservation of public and open space, commitments to the borough's cultural offering and creativity, and determining the future of the P1 huts, to name a few. So though I speak against many of the elements of its process, I do intend to support it tonight in the spirit of promoting collaboration and cooperation with Council and driving forward commitments in good faith.
Thank you, Councillor Tolhurst. Does anybody wish to speak for the motion? That being the case, I put the motion. All those in favour? Thank you. Passed unanimously. 13.4 is the Municipal Public Health and Wellbeing Strategy. Do I have a motion for this strategy?
Yes, thank you.
Councillor Griggar.
It's one, I'd like to note that 6 submissions were received and considered for the Municipal Public Health and Wellbeing Strategy for 2025 to 2029. Acknowledges that the borough's population health data is drawn primarily from the Victorian Population Health Strategy, Health Survey 2023, which has limitations due to its small sample size, and that interpretation of data will require contextual understanding and regular review. And 3, adopts the Municipal Public Health and Wellbeing Strategy of 2025 to 2029, subject to the following conditions. A, that Council conducts a mid-year term review by June 2026 to confirm that data, priorities and indicators remain current and evidence-based. B, that source and confidence levels of health data used in the strategy be fully referenced in the public version. C, that Council ensures implementation responsibilities are clearly assigned within internal work plans and reported through the annual action plan. D, that Council considers the resourcing implications of partnerships and actions during the 2026-27 budget and workforce plan reviews. E, that Council includes a focus on cold weather health impacts, food insecurity and mental health services access during the next review. And 4, request that CEO to ensure that measurable performance indicators are developed and integrated into the Council plan reporting framework for each key strategy area.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for the motion? Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Councillor Grigard, do you wish to speak?
Yes, thank you. In speaking of this adopting the municipal public health and wellbeing strategy, with the amendments outlined in the revised motion, my motion, sorry. First, I'd like to thank all those who have contributed to preparing this document, which draws on the Victorian Public and Health Wellbeing Plan of 2023 to 2027 and the Victorian Public Health Survey. It's clear that a great deal of effort has gone into aligning our local priorities with state objectives, particularly around active living, mental health, alcohol harm reduction, and climate resilience. However, as councillors, we have a duty to ensure that we adopt an accurate, achievable, and appropriate resourced plan. As this Saturday, councillors, CEO, and managers that deliver the aged care services of our council will be classified as responsible persons. So the health survey data used throughout this strategy is informative but not absolute. With a small population like ours, sample sizes can be very small, and that means some of our percentages may not be statistically significant. For example, while reports highlight elevated alcohol-related harm amongst males or higher rates of osteoporosis and cancer, these figures must be interpreted carefully. It's essential that our strategy doesn't just repeat data, it must stand up to scrutiny, and that requires proper referencing, confidence intervals, and transparency about limitations. The second issue is implementation capacity. Our borough has a dedicated small workforce, and many of the actions in this document rely on partnerships with external agencies such as Bellarine Community Health and Queenscliff Neighbourhood House and Women's Health and Wellbeing Bowen Southwest. We need to be clear about who is delivering what and whether the necessary staff time and resources are available. That's why this motion includes a condition that the CEO to be embedded responsibility and performance measures within the annual action plan and workforce plan is required.
Thank you, Councillor Tolhurst. Councillor Cameron, did you wish to speak?
No, but I do concur with what Councillor Gregoire has said in regards to things that need to be included in the municipal health plan with moving forward.
Thank you. Does anybody wish to speak against the motion? That being the case, all those in favour? Thank you. Passed unanimously. Item 13.5, the Asset Plan 2025 to 2035. We have a recommendation. Is that to form the motion? The recommendation is that council notes that 3 submissions and the comments that were received... I'm sorry, is there a problem?
No, I just didn't get the lights up a little bit.
Oh.
They're actually on full.
Whoa. Shall I continue reading the recommendation?
yes, that's fine.
Okay. Notes that 3 submissions and the comments that were received at drop-in sessions have been considered in the preparation of the Asset Plan 2025 to 2035. Notes council's responses provided for all community submissions received. 3. Adopts the Asset Plan 2025 to 2035. 4. Notes the document will undergo graphic design following its adoption by council. And 5. Provides the CEO with authorisation to update the following documents as required. A. Asset Plan Appendix 2, the Building Asset Class Fact Sheet. B. Asset Plan Appendix 3, Roads, Curbs and Footpaths Asset Class Fact Sheet. C. Asset Plan Appendix 4, Open Space Class Asset Class Fact Sheet. D. Asset Plan Appendix 5, Drainage Class Asset Fact Sheet. Do I have a mover for the motion? Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Tolhurst. Councillor Cameron, do you wish to speak? Thank you. Councillor Tolhurst.
Thank you, Mayor. The asset plan is a huge piece of work that has responsibility, as the Mayor noted, in all those attachments and fact sheets for the borough's buildings, roads, curbs, footpaths, drains and open spaces, and reflects that most of the services provided by council rely on assets of standard that are managed affordably throughout their life cycle. I think this document has really endeavoured to explain to the community the integrated framework and shows how amenity, affordability and functionality must be constantly balanced in considerations around asset management investment by council. So a thank you to Stu and the team for a lot of work on this and both continuing to explain it and navigate it with councillors and the community.
Thank you, Councillor Tolhurst. Does anybody wish to speak against the motion? That being the case, all those in favour? Thank you. Passed unanimously. Moving to item 13.6, the Financial Plan 2025-2035. There is a recommendation. Does anybody have a motion? The recommended motion is that Council notes that 7 submissions were received and considered for the 2025-2035 draft financial plan. 2. Notes Council's responses provided for all community submissions received. And 3. Adopts the 2025-2035 financial plan as presented. Do I have a mover for that motion?
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor, I don't know which one, Grigor. Seconded. Thank you, Councillor Tolhurst. Councillor Grigor, do you wish to speak?
No, not at the time being.
Councillor Tolhurst, do you wish to speak?
Yes, just a wee bit, as this is my portfolio. Again, Gihan and team, thank you. I think this is a strong plan, and I am supportive of the process that has been used to develop the plan and the strategic actions that inform it. While the method for efficiency gains are not defined in the financial plan, and they shouldn't be, Council will have to be conscious of the impact on existing services and projects and find a balance that meets the needs of the community while also generating the forecast $272,000 per annum for 4 years. Positively, Council is projecting an average underlying surplus, excluding the impact of non-recurring transactions, of $198,000 based on the Council plan measure, which remains the way we navigate the local government performing reporting framework to make it more realistic for our context. Some exciting and important capital projects are included in this financial plan, from investment in renewables on council-owned buildings and asset renewals to tourist park improvements, Hesse Street works, active transport initiatives, and possibly, with the assistance of some grants, the bike park. Thank you to those who gave feedback, to the staff that worked on it, and to councillors for your collaboration. I happily endorse this financial plan.
Thank you, Councillor Tolhurst.
I'll take up my right now.
Thank you, Councillor Gregoire.
I'd like to support this financial plan, but I actually have a few concerns regarding how one of the key assumptions in this plan, the target of achieving a 2.5 annual efficiency saving, must be tested to ensure it is realistic and does not compromise service delivery or staff capacity. Efficiency is important, but it must be achievable and evidence-based. So I would highly recommend that we actually have a review of this half year, that we can ensure that we're not adversely impacting our service delivery. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gregoire. Does anybody wish to speak against the motion? That being the case, all those in favour of the motion? Passed unanimously. Item 14, questions without notice. The update is that there are no questions without notice outstanding. 14.2, do we have any questions without notice this evening?
No.
Sorry, Councillor Tolhurst.
I'd just like an update on the status of our participation with the new formation of G21, please. CEO, would you like to, because you went to the AGM?
I did.
Or attended the AGM.
I did, thank you, Mayor. At the AGM, it was confirmed that Council's been invited back to the board, so the Mayor and the CEO will be welcome on the board. We've appointed the Agenda Group, which are advocacy experts who support other peer organisations around the state, such as Rural Councils Victoria and the South West Alliance. They'll do the administration and the executive support, and the board itself will be just made up of the mayors and the CEOs. The way that we're working at the moment is the CEOs are meeting with the Agenda Group to do sort of the background stuff to present to a board meeting in December. And that background stuff, sorry for the technical term, is what our work plan is for the next 12 months, what the budget submission for the state government should be, which we want to get off pretty quickly, and then some other work around what happens after the state election and whether or not G21 continues as an entity. So that's where we're up to at the moment.
Thank you, CEO Gill.
One just point of clarification, the timing of the invite for the borough to rejoin, is that underway or will that occur in the new year?
So we sent a letter and at the last board meeting we were accepted, and so that was just made formal at the AGM, and so we'll attend the December board meeting. Yep.
Are there any other questions without notice?
Thank you.
Councillor Gregoire?
It's been, I think, some great angst within our community with regarding the planning changes that's just been put through by the state government, especially regarding the turnaround times of about 10 days they're quoting for planning approvals, and the inability for objections from third-party respondents. So I was just asking, will we as a council be able to meet those timelines of the 10 days that's forecasted that we have to make approvals on the planning process?
Through you, Mayor, and thank you. And Tim, are you comfortable if I respond? Yeah. It's a good question, Councillor Gregoire, and we probably, to be honest, we haven't got our head around all the reforms that are set out in the draft bill. But what we will do is come back in and brief council on what we think the impacts might be in the near future, so that you can advocate, if necessary, to the different houses of Parliament about the content of that bill. Our initial assessment suggests that we can manage those sorts of applications that are similar to Vic Smart within the 10-day timelines, but we're not sure what that looks like under the new bill.
Thank you, CEO Gill. Are there any further questions without notice? That being the case, item 15 asks you to note the list of future council meetings. And then item 16, I'm announcing that we will close the meeting to consider confidential items. And I move that we close the meeting at 7:39 in accordance with sections 66(1) and 66(2)A of the Local Government Act 2020. This meeting will be closed to members of the public for the consideration of the following confidential item: the appointment of an additional community member to the Urban Design and Public Realm Assets Advisory Group. Thank you. All those in... Do I have a seconder? Sorry. Thank you, Councillor Tolhurst. All those in favour?
Thank you.
Thank you. Passed unanimously. And thank you for your attendance. The which one?
The bloke on the wall. For council meetings. Only council meetings.